I am live. Hello, everybody. And welcome to Tea with G. I hope you have your tea. I actually don't have any because I was running late, and as you can all see, I'm in a different place. Those are not my horns. That belongs to a yak behind me, which is the picture on the wall. I'm at my son's house, sitting in his wife's little podcast studio. And so I've converted it over to a video broadcast studio. And so it's good to be here with you all. So let's talk spiritual. Being spiritual. Before we can take apart the whole idea of being spiritual in a material world, a very materialistic world, we have to know what being spiritual is. And to me, what it means to be spiritual is that there is more of an interest in the transcendent. There's an interest in discovering the real nature of reality and not just settling for what the current conventional wisdom is. Now that's on a very base level. It means to me it is a substance that is non-physical. It is immaterial. It is not made up of something else. Spirituality is the very substance of the universe. It is what makes everything up. And I'm not alone in this. There are many who are officially known as scientists and cosmologists who have come to the conclusion that the universe is consciousness and not matter. Among those, Roger Primrose, who happens to be a Nobel laureate, who came to that conclusion. Another guy is Federico Fanini, I think his last name is. He's the inventor of the microprocessor. And he had himself a spontaneous spiritual experience, and now he is he's in our camp. There's actually a lot more, but there's still such a stigma against it that that most scientists simply won't touch the subject because they'll lose their grants or their positions or something of the sort. Can you guys hear me okay? I just want to make sure about that. It's the first time I've used this microphone and this setup, and I want to make sure everybody can hear me. If it's too low, please let me know. So what does that mean to us personally? I mean, that's great from a theoretical point of view or a philosophical point of view, but what does that mean for us personally? Well, it means that we have a very different concept of ourselves. Because if the universe isn't made of matter, but is made of consciousness, that means everything in it, including you, your body, your friends, your spouse, the house you live in, the car you drive, the grass under your feet, and the sky over your head, are all consciousness, who one fellow defines as a non-spatial field of subjectivity, which is a beautiful way to put it. So living spiritually means to live from that perspective. Now that's easier said than done because we live in a world that is highly materialistic and that's a kind of an inevitable consequence of believing that the universe is made of matter, because it is. If it is, then it is in essence finite. It also makes us separate. Even though we're made out of, even with matter, we'd be made out of the same substance. For some reason, we don't recognize that. And we tend to be in opposition to one another. And out of that arises greed and hoarding and sorrow and pain, and really all suffering comes from that essential ignorance. Now, it's not easy to live from that perspective in a world that doesn't even know that perspective exists, let alone considering it as a possibility, a possible way of living. So all the messages you're getting from media, from politics, from economics, from religion, from pretty much everything, is this message that you are a finite material being living in a finite material world, and at best you're a soul living in the body. Now we've gotten a little bit further than that, right? We have people saying you're a spiritual being having a human experience rather than a human being having a spiritual experience. But that really doesn't go far enough, because by spiritual I mean that it is consciousness only, pure consciousness. Then you're not a spiritual being living in a human life, nor are you a human being having a spiritual experience. You are, in fact, nothing but spirit, nothing but spiritual. So it leaves it's kind of like a law of unification where it brings everything together. Now, if we were to study spirit, if we were to study, which is just another word for consciousness, the animating principle, a creative principle of the universe, if we start examining that, we start having a very different view of the world. We start seeing things very, very differently. And we start exploring the nature of consciousness itself. And when you start exploring the nature of consciousness itself, what are you studying? The only thing you can study, yourself. Consciousness is an immaterial thing. You can't weigh it. It has no color, it has no shape, it has no boundary. It's non-spatial. It exists in all places at all times. Or you could say it exists nowhere at all times. So where's the place in which we're going to learn about it? It's not taught in schools. It's not taught in the churches. It's not taught on social media for. Where are you going to learn about it? Where are you going to explore consciousness? Like any other scientist really interested in that subject. Well, there's only one place you can, and that's to study yourself, because that's what you are. If spirit, the universe, is nothing but consciousness, then consciousness is what you are. Now, science has to dismiss consciousness because you can't weigh it, measure it. It has no physical existence, right? First off, there is nothing physical, but I'll put that aside for a second. There's nothing about it that can be weighed or measured or quantified in any way. But science itself admits that they don't actually say what anything is. They only say what it does, which is a measurement of activity and motion and weight and mass and spin and a bunch of these kinds of characteristics. But these characteristics are the behavior of something. It describes in great detail, mathematically mostly, what it does. But it doesn't tell you, and it can't tell you what it is. It can't identify the thing. The best they've got now are quantum fields, and what we call matter isn't matter at all, but a temporary excitation of the field that creates a ripple, and the universe appears. But it's a series of ripples, right? The universe isn't, it's not one wave and then the universe is here. It's constantly being refreshed and recreated, like the image on the image is projected on a screen. It appears as if somebody's moving, but in fact it's a series of images. Just like now, you're looking at me, and it appears that I'm sitting here and gesturing wildly, right? But I'm not. as far as the computer is concerned. It knows nothing about gesturing or wildly or any of that. It is simply a series of pictures which you pick up. The consciousness that is you picks up and puts it together into a story of me talking about this and gesturing subtly or wildly. So what does it mean then to study consciousness? To study as, I can't remember which is the guy who said it. Doug Zen, yes. That to study Zen, or pure consciousness, is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. And to forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. What a beautiful way to put it. So the place I point to start your own personal scientific investigation or study is this simple question. What's hearing my words right now? And look at it closely. You are hearing my words. You are seeing the image. Is the I seeing the image? Is it cognizing? Does it know? Does it recognize who I am? Or is it just a mechanism that collects light? Also made out of consciousness, but not the center of it. And all the optic nerves and all of the things that take place, and the image getting to a certain point, which now it gets associated with other images. And oh, here's a match. That's GP, he's doing T with G. And that whole thing, the associations, the memories, all of that is cognized by something. There's a place, a non-spatial field of subjectivity that cognizes, that actually is conscious. And that's you. Now, starting from that point, starting from that simple, easily observable fact, where do we go? Where do you go from here? Well, if your consciousness and the body is also made of consciousness, then the body is the reflection of yourself. It is a form within consciousness, made of consciousness, but you are the consciousness in which it is appearing and to which it appears, but you're only looking at yourself. You're only looking at some aspect of yourself. When you look at someone else, you're looking at yourself from a different perspective. You're seeing yourself as if you were standing outside of yourself, looking at you. But all of this is taking place within consciousness. You see, the study of consciousness sets aside pretty much everything you know. That's what Vedanta means. The word Vedanta means the end of knowledge. It means setting aside the entire subject-object split that is the substance of all Western philosophy and science. And with that split came the notion that, well, if it's separate from me, it must be made of something, and the word matter is the word that was given to that mysterious whatever it happened to be made up from. Now, before I let this go, the only thing I'll caution you about is to not limit that word or idea concept by our own personal sense of consciousness. That is, my own personal sense of identity. When we're talking about consciousness in its essence, we're not talking about it simply from the point of view of an individual experience. That's part of it. That is one perspective of an infinite number of perspectives. So don't bind consciousness within any categories or any definition whatsoever. It has no definition. The closest you can get to is, I am that. This is what I am. And in fact, this is the only thing I know. Everything that happens in this outside world, I can't know what that is. I can only know myself. I know that I am. Good enough. Now, what am I? That becomes the question. And now, setting aside the whole subject-object model and everything you've learned, and the fact that you can't know anything out there, who am I? What am I? Becomes the most potent and significant question you can ask. And I think I'll leave it at that. All right, everyone. Let me go here now and say hello to everyone. Many will be watching me on this, the very first broadcast I'm doing on the Spirituality channel, which is something brand new I created just to focus the attention on spiritual subjects. I originally named it Non-Duality Channel, but that was too small. I wanted it to cover everything spiritual, although it all derives from non-duality. I wanted to make it inclusive of Zen and Christian mysticism and Sufism, and anything else that may pop up on the spiritual horizon. I wanted to make it really broad, simply because there's a lot of people. There are probably as many definitions of spiritual as there are people on the planet. I always want to just point to the most essential, which is the sense I am. You can't go further than that. You can't step outside of that. If you did, you wouldn't exist. You simply would not be. That is the foundation, the ground. You cannot go further than that. There's nothing deeper or nothing more transcendent. It's it. When you say you're searching for yourself, that's it. That is the end of the search. To just recognize the I am is the only thing, the unchanging thing you can know. And the means by which you know it is direct experience. So, that is the old time, said Barbara. I always get very confused at this time of year, especially because you guys east of us, Europe and beyond, don't go on daylight savings time the same time we do. Mexico doesn't, and I'm in a state that doesn't do it. I think it's one. Maybe I think there's like one or two more. I think Hawaii doesn't do it, and the like. So, hello, Ava in Poland, which you write here means that you do not start according to EDT time, but according to time in Arizona. I don't know. I'm completely confused, and just by the time I get used to it, it gets changed again. So it's always a dilemma at this time of year. So I try to put it in, I'm just going to put it in UTC time. So UTC time does not change, right? Our relationship to it changes. So right now, the Eastern time is UTC, or Greenwich Mean Time, -4, when normally it's -5. So I'll try to put it in UTC time, and UTC for here, I don't even know what it is actually. I'll try to, I'll have to look, I'd have to look it up on time.com. So, time changing is the devil's idea. I think it is. It is the devil's spawn for sure. Roberto, hello from Barcelona this time. Barcelona. God, I loved Barcelona. I really loved Barcelona. What a gorgeous city. I'm anxious to see La Familia Sacrado, because when I was there, it had been stalled. It wasn't finished yet. They had not raised enough money to get it finished, so it was really kind of cavernous and open and cold inside. But now that they've finished it, I really would love to see it. Rosario in Madrid, CM from Moldova, Robbie in Romania, David and Elaine, hello, hello, hello to everybody. Get extra points for being here. Yes, you'd get extra points. Yes. Enlightenment is now about 2.5 months closer. Total Buddhahood is 2.5 months closer. Ava, of course you get, I'm sure. We almost do. Yep, everybody here. Yeah, it's that simple. There's Teresa in South London. There's Jay. How's the move going? Well, the move is halfway complete, Jay. Thank you for asking. I moved out of my old place. All of my things are in storage. For the next 2 weeks, I will be homeless. I'm staying with both sons for a while. I've rented a little place up in Canada, about 3 hours north of Vancouver, where I'm going to go spend that time alone. I will be doing the classes and Tea with G from there. But I'm going to spend most of the time reading and researching and figuring out what this next phase of life is all about, because I seem to be getting more focused. So I need a sense of, as you see, I've got like six different channels of things that I speak about and have spoken about for years. And as I examine them, I see they do come into different categories. So I have to organize my time in such a way that I can cover them all, or put all my focus on one of them. And at this point, I'm not sure which one, although I'm open to suggestions. I have a meditation channel, I have a manifestation channel, I have just Om School and GP Walsh, I've got the spirituality channel, and I've got the tapping channel. And Lisa and I together are doing the wellness channel. And that's what they're called, the wellness channel, the tapping channel, the spirituality channel. For some reason, nobody took those before me, so I have them. With the exception of one thing, I had to start with Om. But the wellness channel is ours. So that I will be doing with Lisa. We'll be doing that one together. So that's how the move's going, Jay, and that's what I will be doing. When I get back, I'm going to spend 2 weeks taking care of my cat friends, and so on May 1st, I will be moving into my new place, and I'll give you all some pictures of it. It's quite lovely, overlooking a lake. Quiet, so it's really quite nice where I'm going. Someplace I can settle in for a bit. All right, Mary. Hello, Mary. Hello, Carl in Ireland. There's Hendrik in Lake Constance in Germany. Dorte in Denmark. Positive Patty. Mary Sykes says yes. I can't remember what the question was. Can you hear us? I guess, yeah. Hello from India, from Kasavadas. Hello, hello. Where in India are you? It's a big place. Where in India are you? Ava, yes, you are heard well. Sound is good, sound is good, sound is good. From Gasper. Hello, Gasper. Hello, Fatima. The more spiritual I am, the more my material dreams come to fruition, to their fulfillment. Literally at the best timing possible. Love from Slovakia. That is the paradox, because the more we rely on consciousness, and the less the more we understand that matter is not something that exists independently of us, from us, that it is actually made from the very substance we are made of. It's no longer even about the law of attraction. You're not even attracting things at this point. They are simply growing out of the fertile ground of the spiritual recognition that I am nothing but pure consciousness. And so within that framework, within that, comes an innocence, comes a real purity, so that every desire that we might call a material dream, which is really just our desire to grow and expand, which is the nature of a human being, they begin to fulfill themselves much more easily because they're not fighting against all of our old beliefs and ideas and the like, and they're regarded as innocent. They're not judged anymore. If I have a desire for a new car, which seems on the surface to be a very materialistic thing, but if you just say, well, the desire's there, the desire's there. I accept it as it is. I accept every desire coming from the very same place that I come from, which is that pure conscious awareness, the pure emptiness. And therefore it is as kind and as loving and as significant as I. It has its own life. Every dream or desire has its own life cycle, just like every human being does, every animal, every tree, even the universe has an end, which will be the beginning of something else. It seems as if that's becoming kind of the idea to explain all of this stuff. So anyway, yeah, you can expect that. But here's just a little caveat, because sometimes things contract and we can think, oh, I must be doing something wrong. The answer is no. The contraction and the expansion. It's just when you contract, you won't contract as far. Not like breathing, where it's always the same distance. You're always going back to ground zero and then filled up and then empty and filled up and then empty and filled up. When you look at that spiritually, you see it's a constant dance between fullness and emptiness. And sometimes our life expands just like nuts and fast, and all sorts of things happen all at once. And then other times it'll just be, it'll contract and it'll just sit there for a while. So don't think if suddenly things aren't popping into your life as easily as they were. I'm not saying they will. They might not. This kind of thing can go on for lifetimes. But if it should, don't think you've done anything wrong. There's a wonderful story I heard. I may have told this one before, but I'm going to tell it again. It's about a Zen master who was up in the mountains. She lived by herself, but she had a lot of students that would come regularly to visit with her. She didn't run a temple or anything like that, or a monastery. Well, one day this young monk came to see her. And he said to her, I have been meditating now for years. I've dedicated my life to this. I'm a monk. And I've gotten nowhere. Nothing. No kensho, no breakthrough, nothing. All I do is meditate and do what I'm supposed to do, but nothing takes place. She says, okay, here's what I want you to do. For the next year, this is your mantra. Everything is happening just as it should, and it's all working out for my benefit. He says, yes, master, that's what I do. And being a very, very dedicated monk, that's what he did. He went back to his monastery, and no matter what happened, he said, everything is happening just as it should, and it is all working out for my benefit. And he really developed that over time, but nothing happened. And he went back to the master and said, Master, I've been at this for a whole year, and still no breakthrough, no kensho, no enlightened moment. And then she said to him, everything is working out just as it should, and it is all happening for my benefit. And in that moment, he had his enlightenment. Let everything be just as it is, with no argument from you whatsoever. Give no credence to any idea or thought that says anything should be different than it is. I must be doing something wrong. I need to double down. I need a different technique. I need a different practice. None of that's true. Everything is happening just as it should. And it is all working for your benefit. The nature of consciousness is love. Because the more you're aware of it, the more open your heart. It's obvious. The more aware of yourself as pure consciousness, the more loving you become, the more gentle, the more patient, the more long-suffering, as they would say, the more compassionate, the more understanding. It just happens. And from that you can say, well, I can say with total confidence, the nature of consciousness is love. It is love itself, which means I'm not only consciousness, I am pure love. That is my nature. And what a realization that is. So, love back to you in Slovakia. Ida Catherine Angel, endless love and gratitude for your GP. Greetings everyone from North America. Thank you, Ida. Thank you. There's not a spot where God is not. That is absolutely correct. There's not a spot where consciousness is not. You see, to consciousness there is no space and there is no time. It's non-spatial and it's non-temporal, which makes it inconceivable, because there's no such thing as a thought or any kind of awareness of content without space and time. So space and time arises with the objects or the content of consciousness, but it's all made of the same thing. Like your dream at night, right? You fall asleep at night, you dream. What is the dream made of? Is there actually an actual mountain with dirt and trees and stuff in your dream? Is there another person, flesh and blood, standing in front of you? What is the dream made of? Well, obviously, it's made of mind. It's made of consciousness. We just believe that our everyday experience is something else. And it's not. So it is even beyond that popular saying, there's not a spot where God is not. There's not a spot that isn't God. That's a better way to put it. There is no place that is not consciousness, in essence and in expression, in emptiness and in form. God is a word to designate your actual true nature. And it's just a word for that. What is your true nature? That which is hearing my words right now, that which is aware of everything, that which can look at your entire life and see it all in context, that which is there that remembers, that which is there that we experience, has always been experiencing. The point of cognition has always been the same. You can examine that and look at it for yourself. The experience of a 5-year-old is very different than the experience of a 72-year-old. But the consciousness that is perceiving it, that hasn't changed. The experiencing itself, the nature of experiencing, which is the nature of consciousness, well, that's never changed. That's always been the same. Content is constantly changing, but the substance out of which it is made never changes. So running out of options, says wind. Not sure what that was referring to, but thank you. Tabby, hello GP. I've been working very hard for many years. I'm a teacher at a public university in a developing country. I hold a PhD in management, but I've not achieved financial abundance. I wish to bring more material wealth and beauty into my life, but it is not materialized. I'm unsure whether this lack of abundance is destined or a result of my own mindset. How can I change this reality? Despite reading numerous scriptures and texts and listening to advice, my financial situation has not improved. Can you offer some advice? Well, first off, it's not destiny. You have to understand there is nothing outside of you that is creating any of your experience. But our lack of power to make manifest the desires that arise in us are a result primarily of our own ignorance of who we really are. Your self-image is one who is educated, knowledgeable. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever why you shouldn't be enjoying material prosperity. So but the image includes a sense of somebody who is always struggling. Now, if that image is very subtle, it's very unconscious, it's an influence, it's not a thought, with that buried deep in the land of what I call energetic assumptions, it is going to make struggle in your life. It even says in the Ribu Gita, which is an amazing thing that it says, that if you believe in a chaotic mind, pure awareness itself will vibrate as an agitated mind. We do not realize that every individualized human being is an expression of the one single consciousness. Now, the nature of that consciousness is love, it's truth, it's also soul. It is creative power, because everything in the universe is being created spontaneously in this moment. It never repeats itself. So it's constantly changing. Something's very quick, something's very slow. That includes every inanimate object, every mountain, valley, and stream. It also means the bugs, the fish in that stream, all the animals that we experience, and you. But what's unique in human beings is that in human beings, that essential creative power, that is the power of consciousness manifesting itself, it manifests itself as a creative human being. So, know it or not, we are creating our lives. And look around in the world. The world we have created, human beings have created. Set aside all the stupid things we've been doing. We're still in our adolescence, barely. We still don't have the sense to go along with our own power, like a teenager, right? The power is there, the stamina and all that, but no wisdom. Humanity as a whole is kind of at that juncture. But your nature is the creative power. Therefore, you are somehow, without you knowing how or even why, you are creating your life. Now, when I say that, I have to be very, very careful. Because since the whole law of attraction thing got started, it's been so diluted, and it's become nothing other than the lust after material things, thinking that the material thing is what's going to satisfy the inner craving, which it cannot do. It can manifest the inner desire, the inner reality, but it can't satisfy it. The sense of there is something missing in my life. Now, what if you were to take the same mantra that Zen master gave to the young monk and said, everything is happening just as it should, and it is all working out for my benefit. Now, you could take that and be quite fatalistic about it. Oh, nothing's ever going to get better. Or you could say, wait a minute, I'm not a victim of this. There is something unfolding here. And everything is happening just as it should. And that includes your desire to have more material abundance. It's not really material abundance, it's consciousness abundance. On a very practical level, it's where are you putting your attention? What thoughts that pass through your consciousness do you accept as true? Okay? Now you can't look at your circumstances and say, I've achieved financial abundance. That's affirmations like that. The mind just kind of blows them off. It never gets in. But it's one of the reasons I use tapping to communicate safety. But can you begin to see yourself as the creative power, and that the only reason what you're creating is not to your liking is because you've been creating out of a sense of ignorance, an ignorance of who you are. You have been creating it, but you don't know how, which is kind of like our dreams at night, right? We're creating them, yet we have no idea how it's working. And then those rare occasions where you do lucid dreaming and you're actually controlling the characters in the dream, you realize, oh, I do have some kind of say in this. So if you realize that, you can either feel debilitated by it or empowered. Because if I created this mess, I can undo it and do something else. And the highest thing to strive for is love. The more you manifest love in your life, that is, in your heart and in your own actions and thoughts, when a thought comes up and you look at it, go, is this a loving thought? No. Well, then I'm not going to entertain it. That kind of inner dimension, what happens is inevitably more love has to start coming to you from the outside. It's not actually coming from the outside. It's not attraction. It's more reflection. You'll see mirrored back to you exactly that content. So I say bypass all of the techniques and all of that stuff and go directly to love. That's why Buddha emphasized compassion. Half of what Buddha said of the sutras that he made, and he spoke for 49 years, every day, multiple times a day. I don't know how many thousands of sutras have been recorded and attributed to him. Half of them were on the pure nature of existence, who you are, what you're like. Matter of fact, his last words, according to one of the stories of his final moments of life, his last words were, remember who you are. What a powerful statement. Remember who you are. But if I'm love, if I start identifying myself as the essence of love and the manifestation of love, that will be my criteria. And it is inevitable that eventually that love will start manifesting in your life. And that is the true essence of all prosperity. And that is what will bring visible evidence of that prosperity, because this is nothing but the evidence of what's going on inside. It's a mirror. It's reflection. I call it the law of reflection. But eventually it's even subsumed in the law of unification, this law of becoming one with it. So cultivate love, compassion, patience, loving kindness, loving awareness. Every time you look upon something and you hear a judging thought, whether it be you or someone else, go, a judging thought. Thank you. I know you're only trying to keep me safe, but I'm choosing a loving thought in this moment. And that will, long before you see any evidence of it, it will bring a peace to your heart, to the point where the evidence won't be that important anymore. You won't be looking to the evidence to give you the experience of living that you're really after, which is the experience of being fully alive in love. And I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you. Thank you, Tabby. Running out of options, says awareness. Kesavat, is it subjective? Is it subjective, not in subject-object world? It is subjective, but not in the sense that we normally think of it. Right? Like I said, don't try to constrict infinite consciousness with your individual experience of consciousness. It cannot be categorized or constricted. It can't be put into any form whatsoever. But we have to use words because words are completely dualistic and live in this world. So I can say the subject and the object are one. When you turn your attention towards consciousness, you are consciousness turning attention towards yourself. So now the object of your interest is also the subject of that interest. So I can use those words in that sense. When I think it was Bernardo Kastrup who gave that definition, a non-spatial field, no, a non-spatial field of subjectivity, right? Because it's all me. It's all the subject. So the subject and the object are one. That's, again, that law of unification. It all comes, subject and object are one. Ultimately, what you would say is there is no subject and there is no object. It would just disappear. But if I was to do that, I wouldn't say anything. We'd just sit here in silence for a while. Because there are no words that are not dualistic. So the subject-object comes from our belief that what I am looking at is separate from me. That's a 3,000-year-old concept. It's actually been around, but it was formalized into classical analysis by the Greeks. So does that answer it for you, Kasavadas? If not, I'm still here. Carl. Hi, G. I went from chasing materialism to making everything spiritual after a near-death experience. I now find my material life suffered regarding career, housing situation, and physical health. How to balance. Beautiful. Well, I think a lot of the answer I gave for Tabi, or Tabi, really don't know how to pronounce it, applies it as well. And that's what happens. We get spiritual, and then we want to just kind of dismiss the material as if it is important. But if truth is the truth, right? If it's true, it's got to include everything. It's got to explain everything. A cosmology that says this is the way it is, ignore the man behind the curtain, right? Is not truth. It's got to explain everything. And that includes our experience of life, housing, career, physical health, romance, finances, possessions. It's got to include it all. So let the spiritual now, that spiritual sense that I am beyond the body, take and bring the body into it rather than try to push it out of it. When I work with people going deep into a kind of a therapeutic meditation, you'll get to a point and a fear will come up. And I'll say, okay, welcome that fear. Just let this fear be here. And eventually it turns into something else. And little by little there'll be a space that is just open and spacious. And so let's just be here for a while, and suddenly a judging thought will come. And our tendency is to want to push it away. But instead, if you recognize that all the things that are coming up are nothing but the functioning that we call the body, trying to protect itself from whatever, we say, oh, thank you. I know you're just trying to protect me. Come on in. Come on into this loving space that I've created. And you'll be amazed at how deep that can go and how much that can very gently penetrate the layers and layers and layers of identity and beliefs and assumptions that all arose out of the original trauma that we all suffered from. Some got more than their share of trauma from childhood experiences. But the moment we get that sense comes to us and is accepted, which it does to all of us, that I am separate, I am this little shivering body in this huge, completely indifferent universe, I have now experienced the original, the primal trauma. I have been separated from myself. But to be separated from yourself also means to be separated from your body. That's why we go into our heads. We just push the body away. And a lot of spirituality teaches you all the best ways to get out of your body and into your head and stay there. But the true spirituality, including Advaita Vedanta, says, well, once you've got that, you now have to come back in and go into the body and begin to let everything in life in. You could say one is Vedanta, the other is Tantra. Does that answer it for you, Carl? Between that and what I told Tabby before? Kesavada is happy to be here. Beautiful. Me too. Tabby, GP, how does spirit leave the body and come back into your body? Like you go out of your body and touch anybody who's living in some other continent. I heard some Sufis used to do that. Some walk over the water. Yes, they do. And what I would say is ignore it for now. There's no reason for you to leave your body. And in fact, you don't actually leave your body. The body falls off because it's only an idea. It's only a concept. In that sense, I've left my body. And then I come back and I inhabit the body. And you leave the body. Because the body's only a concept. It's an idea that's appearing in you and is being refreshed constantly. And so we have ideas about what the body is. What is the body? Well, it's consciousness too. It's made of the same stuff. Everything is made of exactly the same stuff. But the nature of consciousness being creative, it's not static. It's not a thing that got created. It's a functioning. It's a constant happening. Like if you've ever seen clouds as they develop into a rain cloud, it's this constant expansion and all sorts of stuff before the rain starts coming down. And what is the rain except the cloud that is transforming into something else altogether, like the caterpillar and the butterfly. So yeah, in all the traditions, in Christian mysticism, a lot in Sufism and Tantric and Tibetan Buddhism, you'll hear all about all sorts of miraculous events. And that some have got actual conscious control over it. The same thing as in yogis in India. Many Zen masters have exhibited that kind of power. But before that kind of power is assumed, there's an enormous amount of preparation of character. In our materialistic world, we would seek the power without the moral process that has to be in place, the development of character that has to be in place. Because if the power comes before that, you'll destroy yourself and others. You can't help it. Because the ego cannot wield that kind of power without making a mess. I mean, look at the Oppenheimers and nuclear weapons. The ego cannot manage that kind of power without making an enormous mess, which they did, and both realized it, and regretted it for the rest of their lives. So anyway, I hope that answers it for you. So, storm cloud, and with a cat face. Another thing we can know is that we have thought that we knew can be doubted, and that what is true is not as tightly bounded as our habitual models of reality suggest. Absolutely. I mean, what's true is not bound at all. It has no boundaries whatsoever. It exists in all places at all times. Or rather, it exists absolutely nowhere because it is non-dimensional and it is non-temporal. There is no time, there is no space. But to manifest itself, it creates time and space. And then it creates, within that, creators. And that's what you are. You are a creator manifesting the creation. You are the creator made manifest. So, and the fact that a thought can come up, and I can look at that thought, not immediately succumb to it. A judging thought can come up, and I can recognize it as a judging thought, and consciously decide, well, come on in, you're just trying to protect me, but I'm not going to take that on as my identity and become that judging voice. What can do that? What can look at the thought other than something that is other than thought? Something that is aware of thought, something in which the thought is appearing, but it can clearly see it. Ah, that's thought and it's not true. That's consciousness. What else can you call it? And that thought, every thought is made of consciousness, right? That's obviously the case. Otherwise, where is it? Where are they? Do you have some in a drawer somewhere and you pull out thoughts as you need them? They're spontaneously appearing in consciousness. So what can they possibly be made of other than consciousness? All right, I'll leave that for now. Oh, Stormcloud is in Scotland. Yay. When I became aware of my own consciousness, it takes my breath away. It's so incredible. Well, the fact that it takes your breath away lets me know that in fact you did. You touched right at the heart of it. It is an awakening of the heart, an awakening of spirit. Right? It's not just an awakening of the intellect, although it is that too. So, wow, amazing. Amazing. I am so glad to, thank you for sharing that with me. That's the things, those, I love those. I love all reports, but when I get those, it's like, yes, a real breakthrough has happened. Kasavadas, my time in India is 1 a.m. and you stayed up for satsang. Lovely. I am honored. Back in Banks of Fortnight GG. I thought the absolute is beyond the I am. It is, but it includes the I am. The I am is kind of the firstborn. It's like Om, right? It is the sound from which all other sounds come. It is the firstborn. The I am, but you have to remember that there's no time to the absolute. And so the I am and the absolute are in fact one. Because the absolute is always knowing itself, because the nature of the absolute is the self, which knows itself, just as you know yourself. And that knowing is what we experience as the universe, but that knowing is simply the knowledge I am. And that knowledge I am then becomes everything else. The tree, the sunlight, the picture behind me, all of you, the screen, the computer. It's all I am. Existence, being, Satchitananda. It exists. So anything that exists is the manifestation of that which is, isn't it? And the sense I am, you can tell that it's secondary, because there can't be a sense I am without something that exists. Pure existence itself is beyond the I am. But because it is beyond time, it is coexistent with the I am. There's never a moment when there isn't an I am. So when you say beyond or prior to, we're not talking in time. We're talking almost kind of in rank, in order of importance. There must be being. That which simply is. And because it simply is, it is beyond time and space. It just is. It's not even an it. But the nature of that, not even an it, the nature of what is self-aware mind, you might say. Self-aware awareness. Self-aware, pure absolute consciousness. That self-awareness of awareness is the I am. You're following it? It's so subtle. Because if you take time out of the equation, then you see that everything has happened simultaneously. And the I am, and we are all coexistent. Every form that the self emanates is coexistent with that self. It is that self. And that's about as good as I can put it. Well, it's kind of a non-dual day today. I like this. Positive Patty, what gives the presence the stamp of reality? The fact that it's reality. Yeah, what can give the stamp of reality other than reality? Unreality can't do it. Falsity can't give the stamp of truth. What gives that presence, your presence, the stamp of reality? Because it is reality. It is reality recognizing reality. It is the self recognizing itself. And that is presence, that which is, that which absolutely is. Stormcloud, where are the links to your other channels? They should be in a description of this, because I do copy when I'm setting this up, I do have a description in there. I can't put in keywords using this system because it live streams to multiple platforms at the same time. It doesn't allow me to put in, but it does allow me to put in a description. So if you just look at the description here, you'll see a list of every one of my channels. Now, some of them are empty. Like this is the very first thing I've done in the spirituality channel. As you can see, maintaining one channel is a lot of work. Imagine trying to maintain 7 or 6 or whatever number. You mean present, positive. What gives the present the stamp of reality? You give it the stamp of reality. See, when you say what gives it the stamp of reality, you're looking for something outside yourself that says, oh, that's real. But anything that comes out for yourself, from outside of you, you'd have to certify it as real before you could agree that that the present moment has the stamp of reality, wouldn't you? You're always the one that gives it the credence. You're always the one that says this is real, this isn't real. It's always you. And what can say this is real or this is not real except that which is actually real? What can say this is true, this is not true, other than the truth? What can say this is love, this is not love, other than love? Only love can do that. Are you following this, everybody? This is why your nature is love, and it's happening all the time. So I was saying to Tavi earlier, it's already happening. Everything is working out just as it should. It is all happening for your benefit. You are reality. It's another name for the self. It's another name for consciousness. It is reality. It is what is. And that's the nature of reality or truth. So when people say they're creating their reality, it's true according to their definition of reality, but that's not my definition of reality. I'll say you're creating your experience of reality, but you can't create that which cannot be created or destroyed. It just is. You are the reality that gives even this present moment its sense of being real. You following that? Good question from Storm Cloud. Another question from Storm Cloud. Where does mathematics fit into this? It fits our observation so well. It seems to have a meaning and a reality, not just be an illusion. Well, remember, the thing is never the illusion. It's what we think it is. The illusion is mistaking mathematics for the actual thing, other than what it is, a model of the thing, which is modeling the thing's behavior, but not the thing itself. So mathematics is incredible. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Look at the things it does for us, including the computer we're looking at things on right now. The way we can send out a telescope like James Webb and keep it on course. Mathematics. It is a beautiful and elegant model. But a model is not the thing. The map is not the territory. And so while we use it, and we can use it to describe, like language or poetry, to describe experience, it it cannot tell you what the nature of experience is. It cannot tell you what the absolute truth is, only a relative truth. It models what it does, not what it is. And so modeling what it does is beautiful. So it does this consistently. If it does it consistently, we call it a law. We can then describe it mathematically, and it's going to do this. We can predict what it's going to do in the future. But that's assuming it doesn't change. And so far, there isn't anything in the universe that doesn't change. Even the speed of light varies slightly. And time does as well. I could show you how that works, but I won't do that right now. So everything, but mathematics describes what? The behaviors. What does poetry describe? Which mathematics cannot model poetry. You can't do it. Or music. Yeah, you can write music down and represent it. Right? I studied music. You can write it down, you can represent it, and give a good facsimile. But that's not music. It's not music till somebody plays it and it comes alive in the hands and in the heart of the musician or the singer, or the same thing with poetry. Poetry lets me see that tree in a way I'd never seen it before. Gives it a whole context. And there are an infinite number of contexts to everything. Mathematics can't do that. So it is limited to the study of what it calls material objects. So does that answer it for you, Storm Cloud? Oh, Kasavadas is in South India. Pondicherry. Ah, very nice. Way down south. Alley Cat. I've heard a number of NDAC were trapped reincarnating here, yet I've heard others say we can choose never to come back to Earth if we want. Any insight on this? If trapped, it'd be non-dual. Well, if it were trapped, it wouldn't be non-dual, because not two means complete. There's nothing to be trapped in, and there's no one to get trapped. There isn't a trap. Trap is a concept in the mind. So is reincarnation. So are, in essence, near-death experiences. Because it is an experience. It comes and goes. Now, within that experience, some very profound things have been learned, and some incredibly powerful and lasting experiences that people have had have removed their fear of death. In some instances, restored their bodies, like in Evan Alexander, which is one of the most remarkable ones of all, because his whole neocortex had been destroyed and shouldn't have been functioning at all. So it brings back all sorts of things, and yet it still will be colored by the level of consciousness or the level of understanding that the individual has gotten to. You cannot choose to come or go until you have transcended all, until you've seen things as they actually are. When you see things as they actually are, according to the Ribhu Gita, then you can decide whatever form you want to manifest in, but you're not coming back anywhere. See, we have this idea that the earth and the universe is fixed. It's a constant. It's always here. And then I get born into it. I have an experience, and then I'm born out of it. The reality is that you're the constant, and the earth is constantly appearing and disappearing. It appears at what you call birth, and it disappears at what you call death. And in between, there's still you. If you believe that you are going in and out of it, you'll have no choice but to go in and out of it. But if, in fact, you recognize that, oh, it's happening in consciousness, the entire world, the entire universe is happening in consciousness, which in Hindu they call Brahma, then coming and going. But then what does choice even mean at that point? When you start thinking purely on a non-dual perspective, well, there's no choice because there's no chooser. I won't go there because it can get very, very confusing. So awakening to get out of so-called reincarnation. Don't seek awakening for anything other than the sake of awakening itself. Don't seek it to get out of reincarnation. Don't seek awakening to have a better material life. All of those will happen, but they're the wake on the boat. You don't get into a boat to make a wake. You get in there to go somewhere. So, and Buddha used the metaphor of the boat to get in the boat that would take you to the other side. And the other side was awakening or enlightenment. But, as he said, once you got there, you stand and turn around and look back and you realize you're standing in the place that you never left. You're standing in the same place that you started, but you see it differently. The only thing that shifts is perception. So incarnation and reincarnation happens, but your perception of it is different. Like as I said, the earth constant and you coming and going is a perception. But it's the illusion, because what's actually happening, the true perception or enlightenment is the earth is coming and going, the universe is coming and going, and you're the constant. Enlightenment is simply there's no more illusion. You're awake. You're not dreaming anymore. You're awake. Banks a fortnight. What is love? Wow. Wow. Love is the... Now, everything I'm going to say right now is about love. You cannot say what love is. It cannot be captured by anything. It has no boundaries to it. So you can't say it is this or it is that. Jesus said about heaven, don't say it's there or over here. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It is not a thing that can be put into a box. Yet, through your own direct experience, you know what love is, and you can tell the difference between what is love and what isn't. You know it when you feel it. When you fall in love, nobody has to tell you. There's no checklist you have to follow, no book you have to read. Right from the very first time it happens, when you're maybe 12, even a crush that comes earlier, you know it. There's no doubt in your mind. You go, oh, this is love. Now, where did that come from? That knowledge didn't come from the outside. It came from within love itself, which is your nature. But look at how many different forms of love there are. You love being here in satsang. So do I. You love your parents, maybe, right? But there's a certain love you have for them. There's a certain love you have for work or your career or your art form, or there's just the love of art, the love of music, there's the love of fashion, the love of nature. Now they're all, we use the same word, but they're very different in their expression, aren't they? And so you can see that they all have a common root, and we recognize that common. Everybody says, yes, that's love. Just like we know what a dog looks like, and no matter what shape it comes in, we know it's a dog. And they come in a lot of different kinds of shapes. Some, I have no idea why they did that, but there it is, and you know it's a dog. It's not a cat, it's not a cow. You just know it. Even though, so what then is dog? You could ask the same question, what is dog? Well, it's this. Oh, it's that. Well, and that. Oh, it's that and that. But what about that? Well, yeah, that's dog. You start getting into this realm of essentials. I mean, Plato referred to them as essential forms. It doesn't mean the same thing we do in non-duality, but it's kind of the same. There's this essential form, something that's recognized by love, as love. And so love, you could say, is an essential form. Or you could say it's formless, but gives life to form, gives expression to form. The form of, oh, that's clearly love. Oh, that's true. Oh, wow, that's soulful. That's so animated and spiritual. Right? This is pure mind, brilliant creativity. This is just overwhelming. This is intuition, knowing without knowing how I knew. You could see they all have this common theme within them. And love is simply one aspect of this infinite diamond that we call the self. So when I say to somebody, identify with love, I don't have to give a lot of instructions as to how to do that. No matter what level of understanding you are, you can recognize from that level what is love and what isn't. And the more you do that, the more that level will expand. And the more you'll see the subtleties of it and places where you haven't been loving yourself. Maybe I have self-esteem. Well, in this place I haven't been doing that. So I'm going to start loving myself. I haven't been loving my kids or my wife or husband or something. Oh, I could grow more love there. Well, what's in the way of that? Oh, I feel some antagonism. I feel like I haven't been taken care of. You can see that it's got a therapeutic, a healing aspect to it as well. But it starts with the recognition of love. And you know what it is, but you can't put it into words. You can only put it into action. And you know what a loving action is. And in any given moment, if you stop for just a second, where there's a choice of what action to take, my whole morality is built on this simple thing. When I have to act on something, what is the most loving action I can take? That is my morality. And I uniformly choose, of all the options available, and sometimes they're not very good options, I choose the one that is most loving. By most loving, for me, that means, what is it that benefits the most? Benefits all. Not just me, which is a small love, but what benefits me and everybody else. And sometimes it's one and the same. Sometimes that there's a different decision. Well, I would get ahead with this, but it wouldn't help everybody else. I'm going to choose to wear somebody else. Now that's me. That's my particular morality. That's the way I do it. And so far it's worked pretty well because I haven't found any boundary to love. And it's helped me become more loving and more compassionate. Does that answer it for you, Bank? I know it wasn't really an answer. It's not like a textbook where I can say, this is love. Tick, 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 tick. There's no checklist for these kinds of things. Taby says, thank you, GP, for your loving presence. Oh, you're very welcome. Rosario, thank you, GP, for this wonderful satsang. May you have these following 2 homeless months, actually, 2 homeless months as you desire them to be. And I do, actually. They're exactly what I wanted when this whole thing started happening, and the opportunity to get into this other really nice place opened up for me. I consciously set all this stuff up, staying with my son, staying with my other son, who I hadn't seen for a while, the trip up to Canada, and it just happened to correspond to another 2 weeks where I'd be staying, taking care of the kitties, which is also a little extra money on the side. So I actually consciously planned out the whole 2 months. It ran into obstacles. Nope, sorry, you can't do this. My first choice of a place in Canada didn't work out with the dates, but then I got the same place with different dates, and it all worked. It all worked, and I have every day for the next 2 months, starting from March 4th to May 1st, is smooth sailing. It didn't happen all at once. Mystic Poet. My dear Faith. Hi, my Sheik and everyone. I'd like to ask about the pain that women endure during their period, sometimes even a few days before that. Is that a necessary pain? Thank you. What an interesting question. Well, I can say from my overall understanding that we can remove from pain all suffering. That's where I start, right? Now, if there's a certain acceptance that this pain is necessary, this is what's happened, and I don't fight it, I become emotionally disattached from it, wanting to anything to be different than it is. I've removed the suffering from it. But now there's another question, that is that absolutely a necessity? It is believed by the world that it is. And it is so universally believed by the world that I would have to say that it would not be an easy thing to transcend. But transcend it you could. You continued, I'd like to ask about the tapping open house. I couldn't find the links to participate. I'm looking forward to tapping. I'll tell people about that in a second. Because there won't be a leak. It's being broadcast everywhere. So this is a tough one, and especially I feel a little bit reluctant to talk about it because I'm not a woman, and I don't, and all I know is what I've experienced being with women going through it, that and childbirth. That it doesn't have to be that way. There's nothing external that necessitates it. But simply trying to transcend the pain of it isn't going to work. I've known people who have tried to do that and it fails miserably. Start with transcending the idea that anything's wrong and that things should be different than they are. And instead embrace that mantra, everything is happening just as it should, and it is all working out for my benefit. And then you could use something like tapping to just, I am safe, and it will have an effect. It will at least make you more calm and more open. And of course, the more calm and open you are, the less tension there is in your body, which amplifies any kind of pain that's there. And after a while, you may be able to take it even further and remove all the pain completely. It is possible. But I don't like to talk about these things in that sense because it gets a lot of people's, oh yeah, I can do this, and they end up focusing on really the wrong thing. So, thank you there. Thank you there. All right, I will mention that I am doing a tapping, an EFT, emotional freedom technique, open house. I'm going to take 2 days, one on a Wednesday, one on a Sunday. This is the off week that I'm not doing the looking class, which I do every other Wednesday. And it's the off week from Tea with G, which I do every other Sunday. And that off week, which is March 20th and March 24th, I will be doing 2 free open houses. I will be sending out a link and putting it everywhere. It's going to be open to anybody. It's public. Anybody can come. And I'm just asking for donations to help me keep the lights on. But I'm making it available to absolutely everyone. And I will just, interrupt this program for a special message, just asking people to donate to help keep this thing alive. But I will be working with anybody who wants to work with me. I do have a mechanism by which I could bring somebody on to video, but in the past I've found that people don't really want to do that. But if they do, I can bring you on using this system right here, and you will be broadcast with me, and I can work with you like that. I'm not using Zoom. It's not going to be a Zoom meeting or anything like that. This is the best way I can do it. Just open it up to the entire public. So I will be sending an email out. The first email went out as a note down at the bottom. I will be sending out an official announcement because it's coming up. It's 10 days from now? 11? Yeah, about 10 days from now. The first one happens. Or is it this weekend? No, it's the weekend after next. Yeah, 20th and 24th. So yeah, it's a bit to go. Maybe I got the dates stuff mixed up, but I think I put in there 20th and 24th. If that's a normal day for Tea with G or for the looking class, I'll move things around because I'm not going to change those dates now. It's a Wednesday and a Friday. I will be doing it from the little place I rented up in Canada. That will be my live, or I'll be broadcasting from. So, so if you want to make a donation, if you want to do a recurring donation, they really, really help. And you can just go to Patreon/GP Walsh. And there's another one I use for one-time donations, which is buymeacoffee.com, and it's buymeacoffee.com, just as it sounds, /GP Walsh, and you can make a donation. Again, I'm not requiring a donation to anybody. You can, you know, if you can't afford the minimum, which is $5 is the minimum on Buy Me a Coffee, and if you can't afford that, well, God bless you, come on anyway. I'm not closing this off to anyone, but I am asking for people. I'm making a suggested donation of about $25 US. I get enough of those, it'll cover everything. So so thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for bringing that up, Mystic Poet. Break the spell, better late than never. The time thing, man. I swear, it's a tool of the devil. Mary says, oh, I found the description of your channels. Thank you. You're welcome. Barbara, do you agree with those sayings that everything that seems to happen here is because the consciousness wants that experience for knowing, learning different aspects of itself? Boy, I'm currently working on a thing I call the 4 laws, which are really 4 different perceptions of the phenomena of consciousness. Consciousness, in its essence, wants nothing, needs nothing, lacks nothing. So how could it possibly want anything? But the nature of consciousness is love. So you could say consciousness wants to love. And to love requires, you can't have an objectless love. You can have a universal love that loves everything and loves everything equally, like the sun shining. But there has to be something to love. And this is part of the nature of creation, why there is the yin-yang, male-female, dark and night, dark and light, day and night. All the opposites, because that's how we can express love, and music, and art, and everything. The expression requires duality. This is the true nature of duality. The true nature of duality is it's non-dual. That it all emanates from exactly the same place. So it's not learning, yet it expresses itself as individuals learning and growing and evolving. That's how it expresses itself. So I could use the terms that like consciousness developing, because from my perspective, I am learning. New things are unfolding all the time. But it's simply the perception. And that perception is what is the I am. It's what makes that possible to have an experience at all. But that perception, like right now, you're looking at me you're looking at yourself from a different perspective. And from that perspective, you see yourself as me, as GP, this guy here. Or all the other people here, and all the letters, and the computer itself. It's all you. Seen from a particular perception, point of perception or perspective. You can't see everything from every perspective simultaneously, or you won't see anything at all. And so there aren't any things, I'm not going to go there, never mind. So we experience learning, growing, loving. We experience success and failure and you know, falling in love, getting your heart broken. We experience all these things. We experience the constant unfoldment of the ever-changing universe, while simultaneously we recognize that it is a manifestation of the changeless. And so we just enjoy the knowing, enjoy the learning. Why? Because that's the self enjoying knowing, enjoying the experience of learning, of knowing. but it doesn't need it, nor does it want it. It just happens because it happens out of its nature. The best metaphor I can use is the jazz player. The jazz player is not planning anything. He's not plotting anything. He's not wanting any particular set of notes or anything. He's just up there playing, and it's happening. And the best jazz players aren't thinking about anything at all. It is just, the fingers are moving on their own. The whole body is just vibrating with this energy of the self. I've listened to a few videos recently of Oscar Peterson, and it just blows my mind that any human being could do that. That it's possible for such beauty and such power and such dexterity to come through one human being. It's just stunning, but it's non-dual in the sense that it is all expressing that which doesn't need to, which is already all-knowing, all wise, all loving, all everything. It doesn't need to know, it always knows. It doesn't need to learn because it always knows. But we have to see that the manifestation of that is always what we experience. So it's not pure consciousness itself that wants the experience. It's the nature of consciousness itself that creates experience, which the perception of the self is knowing, learning, evolving, growing, trying, succeeding, failing, the whole lot. Positive Patty. I love that. So simple the question to ask yourself, is this real? Self cannot lie to itself. No, it can't. Truth can't lie. You're a beautiful soul, GP. Thank you, Patty. Thank you. John Lucas, thanks, G. Great satsang. You're welcome. Stormcloud, I sense that many other species have consciousness. I don't see humans as fundamentally different or special among the other animals. What's your take on this? I read that chimps have been observed behave as though they may have a basic spirituality. Yes. Everything, nothing has consciousness. Consciousness has everything. Everything is a manifestation of consciousness. From the cockroach to the black hole, are all a manifestation of consciousness. What is unique about the human being, and may appear in other animals, there's nothing stopping it, right? But that animal is defined in a particular way. So a chimp is a chimp. It doesn't become the human, right? But it's not that it has consciousness or a chimp conscious. It is consciousness having a chimp experience. And if I'm having a chimp experience, I want the full chimp experience. I don't want it to be watered down. If I'm a cat, I want to be the full cat experience. So I will have cat thoughts, chimp spirituality, chimp thoughts, chimp feelings, chimp emotions, chimp behaviors. But it's always the same consciousness. The unique thing is that for the human being, and this did not evolve, this appeared. The human being has the unique ability to look at itself, to see itself as it actually is, to see beyond the body, to see beyond that identification. It is aware of being aware. So there are other animals that everything, obviously everything is aware. The flea is aware, right? Consciousness is manifest there. But only the human beings are aware of being aware. They go, whoa, what's this? It's the one difference. And that's the whole purpose of being born a human, is to have that experience and exploit it to the max, all the way up into Buddhahood, which is beyond all experience, where you are one with the Absolute, and at the same time, one with all the relative. And you see clearly they're not two. Banks a fortnight. Sometimes there is this love that I don't understand, but the effects are that it is contracted, like emotion, stress, start melting. It's wonderful and healing. It's like a warm space. That's an aspect of love, isn't it? Yeah, it is. When we feel loved, oh my God. What does it feel like? How does the world look when you fall in love? There's nothing that isn't beautiful. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter what anybody says to you. And that when you're just totally in love, the most horrible person in the world will say, "Oh, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Say whatever you want." And everything in that space can breathe and relax and finally move freely again. Wish I could make that happen more often or consciously whenever. Well, you can, but it's not like trying to make the event happen. You identify more and more with the love that is expressed in that moment, which is simply a moment by moment thing. I see. I'm telling you that you are love, and you don't have to get it. You just have to let it express itself through you. And if I'm love, then I can look at every one of my thoughts and feelings and simply say, boy, is this as loving as it can be? Can it be better than this? Can I even be more loving than this? Can I open myself to even more? Can this heart get so big that absolutely nothing offends it? That's a practice. That's a practice worth doing, don't you think? Mystic Poet. Thanks, I love you. Yes, I will allow it more. Beautiful. Thank you, Faith. Stormcloud, thank you for your answers, GP. You're very welcome. Positive Pen, I'd love to sponsor you. Sure, on Patreon or something else. Something, a different form. If so, just send an email to support. Actually, send it directly to me, gp@omschool.co. omschool.co, Omschool. If there's something more you'd like to do beyond Patreon, or buy me a coffee. I chose that because I love coffee. I love lattes. Sometimes I like just a hit of espresso. Just, yeah. Stormclimb, everything is me, but also everything is each other person at the same time. Yes, that's it. We are the same being. The separateness is illusion, but the individuality is not. Separateness is the illusion that has been projected upon the experience of other, thinking that there really is another, and being is indivisible. Yes, you're absolutely right. David and Elaine, with deep gratitude and appreciation as always, G, for sharing tea with us. Sending love for both of us for a smooth, peaceful, and happy transition to your new home. Thank you, guys. You always touch my heart. Stormcloud, I like that. What's it like to be a bat? To the bat, right. And if I'm going to be a bat, I want to be a bat, right? Just like if I'm a teacher, I'm a teacher in the time that I'm teaching. And even Buddha had said that he had been all life forms, which didn't mean he reincarnated as every single life form there was, because 97% of them are extinct anyway. What he meant is that all of them are Buddha nature. The bat is just another aspect of Buddha nature. And the transcendent is the awareness of Buddha nature directly itself, and that is the characteristic that appears in the human being. Thank you, says Bankfort. Now, you're very welcome. ML, where in the body appears love? Nowhere. It's non-spatial. It reflects itself in love. When you fall in love, man, it's all over your body. Right? Or when you just love anything, there's a feeling that goes with it, but it's actually just the vibration of consciousness appearing as the body, like first chakra kind of thing. So love permeates the body. It animates the body. It isn't stuck in a body. Nor is it localized. It's not localized anywhere. GP, Patty, what's the email again, GP at omschool, omschool.co. And thank you. And anybody, please don't inundate that. I don't give that out, and I just gave it out in public, but please don't inundate that. Special things, I will give that out, but for the most part, I go through support at Om School. So please continue to use that. I also have tapping at omschool.co, which is where I get ideas for tapping videos that I've got several in the queue, as I will be doing for the tapping channel. So subscribe to all of them, please. So did you get it there, Patty? Did you get the email now? You know what? Let me put it right here. gp@homeschool.co. Use with discretion, please. Use with discretion, please. All right, I think that will draw it to a close for this bi-weekly, or is it bi-weekly event. So I'll be telling everybody about upcoming events and the tapathon that I'm going to be doing, and with tapping, my focus is always transformative. I mean, if I was to just go with like non-duality without the other compassionate side of it, I wouldn't be doing tapping. I do tapping because because you can learn, you do grow, you do evolve, and there are things that get in the way of that growth and evolution and development of character and abilities. And so I use relative means to support the transformation. And it's also, as a result, it's very therapeutic. It can heal things, it can release things, it can get you free from traumas. But its goal is to transform you into what you already are. To transform you, to free the expression of what you already are, so that the expression is total. It has no constrictions or restrictions on it. And that particular expression then is free to express itself fully until that mode of expression is over, its hair turns white, its face wrinkles, and eventually that mode of expression just kind of grinds to a halt and a new one appears. So, got it. Thank you, Patty. Look forward to what you have to say. Wonderful. So thank you all once again for being here. Thank you for all your love and kindness. Thank you for being students of the way. Not necessarily students of me, but you're all students of the way. You are students of the truth, which simply means you're returning back to who you really are and liberating your expression of that. And just remember that you already are everything you're seeking. Everything. Not just you already are that. That includes all the things that you seek, be it a more expressive life, a more prosperous life, a more rich life, a more expansive life. That's part of the deal. So, thank you, Patty. Thank you, Stormcloud. Thank you, Ava. Thank you, David and Elaine and ML and everybody that was here that I might not have gotten your name last go around. But thank you all for being here, and I will see you again very soon. My love to you all.